this guy, Darren McGarvey, he's a Scottish writer. He has a column in the Guardian, the Daily Record, Scottish Daily Record, and essentially, there was an incident in Scotland at a primary school, Glencoach Primary School in Paisley, the constituency of Mary Black, the SNP MP. And she turned up at a primary school and with a drag queen called Flowjob to do drag time, story time. And there was uproar from parents. You know, the parents didn't even know this visit was happening. And eventually, John Sweeney, the Scottish Government Education Minister, apologised. The council apologised. It should never have happened. If they'd known what was going to happen, it would never have happened. But anyways, this Darren McGarvey, he won the Orwell Prize for a novel or a book that he wrote. I mean, that he seems to support all the SNP kind of Orwellian policies. I don't know what the criteria for winning an Orwell Prize is these days, but anyways, he said something in defence, and I call backlash against people who critique queer theory in children's lives. I call it the dark defence, and he starts his article. This is a quote from the article. Children in primary school are smart enough to understand concepts like death, illness, and war, but not sexual identity and relationships. So he's obviously on the in the offensive straight away in defence of this drag act that came to this primary school, and he goes on. He said, "It is therefore hard to see." Oh, he said, "Hysteria drowns out the real debate going on after controversial drag queen visit to school." That was the title of the article, and he said, "It is therefore not hard to see why many believe an undercurrent of homophobia is at play. It undoubtedly is." And he goes on, "While I am hesitant to outrightly rubbish, let me be polite," he says, "non-rational parental anxiety, I must iterate that being queer is not a learned behaviour. It can't be taught, only accepted. LGBTQ education is primarily making it safe for people to come to terms who they are and educating others on how to support them. Still, this issue isn't cut and dry, and Twitter doesn't make it any easier. We may never know a parent's reason for being unnerved by the thought of a stranger discussing intimate topics with their children." I mean, we may never know a parent's reason for being unnerved by the thought of a stranger discussing intimate topics with their children. Is that idiotic? Am I missing something again? Especially when so young and with someone nicknamed after a sex act. Therefore, those more understandable concerns were, however, predictably coloured by those who saw the episode as a green light to broadcast their ignorance, confusing, vague, reactionary impulse with reasoned argument and conflating queer culture with sexual deviance, a classic homophobic trope. This I condemn in the firmest possible terms. Mind you, the parents weren't informed at all about this visit. He's not mentioned that once yet in the article. The school apologised, but let's be clear what for. It doesn't change the fact that LGBTQ plus education is essential in a 21st century curriculum. So, interrogating heteronormativity and awakening child sexualities is a necessity in a 21st century curriculum. And he ends his article. His disdain for the parents brims over here. He says, "Parents are entitled to express any concerns regarding what their children are exposed to at school, but also worth bearing in mind that the biggest influence in a child's development and parents are parents and caregivers. People they know. Anyway," this is a tweet. This is a tweet. "People they know. Anyway, good night." So there you go. Parents don't get a very fair crack of the whip in his, his defence of the drag queen. They're made out to be reactionary, hysterical, homophobic, and not once does he mention what the ideology of queer theory actually is. If you go down the rabbit hole of queer theory, so there's the overt disdain for heteronormativity, as I've already mentioned, and the need for the rejection of heterosexuality and reproduction. In queer theory, and this is in the book Interrogating Heteronormativity in Primary Schools, they argue that there's a need to challenge reproductive futurism. Reproductive futurism, i.e., human reproduction of children and its heterosexual nature, and that queering the classroom and human reproduction are at odds with each other. Indeed, the rationale for teaching children at all is questioned, as queer existences or lifestyles are antagonistic to a reproductive future, as in heteronormativity, where the future child and family are valued. In other words, the notion of the family, a biological mum and dad, heterosexuality, commitment to heterosexual monogamy for one's children in the future all need to be sacrificed on the altar of queer theory. The present, alternative sexualities, alternative lifestyles, open relationships, polyamory, sex as only for pleasure or immediate gratification is the ideal of a queer utopia under the ideology of queer theory. These ideas are perhaps appropriate for the realms of adult behaviour and lifestyle, but I don't think they're suitable for a child's classroom. I mean, it's fair enough to study at university in a university context. And the Scottish Government have pushed this agenda with the Thai campaign. And the Thai campaign are getting questioned because it's queer theory, essentially. And what else can one say to that? But this is the crux of the matter. They're wanting to queer theory in classrooms is about child sexualities. Why isn't alarm bells ringing?